I think Angel Reese, and I'm saying this with my chest out, I think she's quit on the Chicago Sky. She's been claiming a back injury basically since the All-Star break. And there's no details. Every day we hear that Angel Reese is day to day. And every week there's no update on what she's struggling with, what she's doing. There's nothing. There's no information about Angel Reese. I think she's quit on this season. I think this is a worse version than Kawhi Leonard.
Did Angel Reese just quit on the Chicago Sky again? That's the question lighting up timelines, post-game shows, and locker rooms around the league. The official label is day-to-day, but fans can practically mouth the update before the coach says it. No timetable, no specifics, just a cloud of uncertainty that seems to roll in the moment the season gets uncomfortable. Meanwhile, in Indiana, Caitlin Clark is rehabbing a very visible groin injury and still showing up on the bench, still breaking viewership records, still the center of gravity for her team. The split screen writes itself. One star vanishing into vague medical notes, another staying present, even when she can't play. So let's unpack the timeline, the optics, and why this season's most polarizing question isn't just about health, it's about trust.
Everybody is ablaze right now. Everybody's wondering, what is really going on with Angel Reese? Has she just flat out quit again? Has she quit on the Chicago Sky? Angel, you gotta be, hold on, you have to have some level of self-awareness here.
Start at the present tense. The Sky have been wobbling. Losses stack up, offense gets sticky, the identity talking points return, and right when leadership is needed, the status updates turn into a fog machine. Day-to-day, focusing on rehab, no travel to the Fever game in Indianapolis, a game circled on every fan's calendar. It's the rivalry the league markets. It's the arena that fills up. It's the kind of stage you fight to be on, even in warm-ups and street clothes, because your presence matters. But Angel wasn't there.
Angel Reese! She might have tapped out, y'all. Angel Reese may have tapped out and quit on the Chicago Sky. Everybody is speculating, what is this back injury? What's going on? Hey, are you trying to pretend like you hurt because Caitlin Clark really is hurt? Wait, what's going on? What's going on, man?
Now, rewind the tape. Last year ended with a wrist issue. Serious enough to justify shutting it down early. Serious enough that the conversation moved from rough month to see you next season. Before that, the short-lived unrivaled stint ended with a no-go for the championship event entirely. 2 exits, both mid-narrative, both defended by injuries that never came with the kind of granular updates fans now expect in 2025. None of this proves bad intent. Bodies break down, backs flare, wrists swell, but patterns tell stories even when press releases don't.
Hey, look, bro, you gotta remember, she quit in Unrivaled. She just stopped playing in Unrivaled. Said she was hurt, didn't show up for the championship game, didn't even show up and watch. Last season, she claimed her wrist was messed up, didn't finish playing in none of the games. Now, this year, she's saying this season, it's her back. It looked like she's not finishing playing in none of the games. The Sky needs you. The Chicago Sky, you guys are the gum on the bottom of the shoe of the league. They need Angel Reese to play in games. Angel, where you at? Where are you at, Angel? This is nuts.
And that's what's made this stretch so combustible. You don't need to be a physiotherapist to see the timing looks awful. Chicago hits turbulence, pressure spikes, and the star with the biggest marketing footprint is suddenly a ghost. Critics fill in blanks and the takes get loud. She's protecting the brand. She's ducking ugly losses. She's saving per-game stats and heat index while the team grinds without her. Those are accusations, not facts. But when you're the face of the franchise, you don't get to control which narratives rush in when information stays vague. There's also the basketball piece, and it's uncomfortable. The Sky's offense often looks more connected when the ball isn't detouring through a forced post touch or a crash and pray possession. The guards initiate, the wings cut with purpose. Shots arrive inside the rhythm of the set instead of out of a brand-building heat check. When you remove a high-usage hub who doesn't consistently bend defenses with efficiency, the machine sometimes hums. Coaches won't say that at a mic, but rotations tell the truth. Minutes grow for players who make the ball move. Energy spikes. Benches lean forward.
I think she's using her back as an excuse to sit out because she doesn't really care about basketball. I think she looks over at Caitlin Clark and says, hey, Caitlin Clark is out with a legitimate injury. I proved my point before the All-Star game when I went on a 10-game run trying to justify being on the All-Star team. When that first ballot came out, when the first voting results came out about the All-Star game and I was 13th, holy cow, Angel Reese panicked, started playing hard, tried to put up some stats to justify being on the All-Star team, did that. And now she said, hey, the Chicago Sky sucked this year. Peace out.
Now contrast that with Indiana. Even with Clark sidelined, the Fever feel organized. Aaliyah Boston anchors the paint, Kelsey Mitchell is a metronome scorer, Sophie Cunningham's edge travels, Lexi Hull steps in and suddenly goes plus 22. That's not an accident. It's culture. Their star shows up even when she can't suit up. She's on the bench, diagramming, clapping through timeouts, keeping the temperature steady. You can feel the difference between a team waiting on a star and a team orbiting one. And that's the crux of why fans are frustrated. Leadership isn't just the points or the rebounds or the double-double graphic. It's the small, daily choices that make a locker room believe you're in it with them. If you're hurt, be hurt. Nobody's sensible once players risking long-term health for one regular season game in August. But be present. Travel for the big ones when you can, sit with your teammates, allow the cameras to see you encouraging a rookie, tapping a vet's shoulder, owning the group even when you're in street clothes. Presence is a skill, and the greats master it.
Last year with the Chicago Sky, you quit. You quit. You threw in the towel. Once you realized you never stood a chance, to be honest, with Caitlin Clark for that Rookie of the Year. But once you realized your double streak was over, and it was over. She took over post-Olympic break. Once you realized it was done, you threw in the towel, said your wrist was hurting for the rest of the year. You threw in the towel and said your wrist was hurting for the rest of the year and didn't play again. This past the inaugural season of Unrivaled, you didn't even finish that season. You didn't even show up for the championship. No, not only did you not play, you didn't even show up to the game at all. People noticing a pattern with you. That's 2 seasons in a row.
Of course, the counter-argument is legitimate. Back injuries are tricky, travel can aggravate symptoms, and medical privacy is a right. If the training staff judges that staying home is best, that should carry weight. But the silence invites speculation. Fans are sophisticated now. They follow beat reporters. They track timelines. They remember when you were healthy enough for all-star photo ops and playful jabs about taking over someone else's trap, then suddenly too banged up to be in the building for the rematch. Fair or not, optics are part of the job.
What they do not understand is that coaches, and I know the WNBA in some regards isn't a real sports league, and I don't know if they think like real coaches and real people in sports, but the number one ability is availability. If you're not available, you have no value.
You can hear the frustration in the way analysts talk. The phrase, availability is the best ability, gets dusted off. Some go further, arguing flat out that Reese has tapped out for the year. That goes too far for me. Nobody on the outside can diagnose effort, but I get why people feel burned. If your team is losing and the star disappears, the absence doesn't just create a hole on the floor, it creates a vacuum in the story. Fans want a reason to believe, and silence gives them none. Let's also talk about the other scoreboard, relevance. When Clark misses time, television numbers wobble. The league misses the halo effect she brings. It's measurable. It's immediate. Even haters tune in. When Reese sits, there isn't the same national shockwave. That's not a value judgment on her future, but right now, Clark's footprint is undeniably larger. She's proven appointment viewing, and when she's out, she's still in the shot. She's still in the fight. That's how you widen the gap in a rivalry without logging a single minute.
She identified once they lost Vandersloot, their point guard, early in the year, and once they started getting their brains beat in, hey, we're not going to win anything this year. I'm not putting these L's on my resume. I'm going to have an excuse for the Chicago Sky potentially coming in with the worst or second worst record in the WNBA These losses will not be on my resume.
None of this means Chicago should flip a table. There's a version of the sky that works. Camila Cardoso pushing pace, Haley Van Lith with rhythm threes, front court pieces fighting for glass by committee, fewer forced ISOs, more second side action. There's a path to competitive basketball, even if the star isn't at full throttle. But it requires something that's been missing: clarity. Are we building around an interior bruiser who needs 15 touches and a runway to crash? Or are we leaning into guard-driven flow and trusting effort over headlines? Pick a lane. Stick to it long enough for chemistry to harden. For Reese, the fix isn't complicated, but it will take humility. Start by owning the communication. If your back is truly bulky, and it very well could be, put a face to it. Sit at a podium and explain what you can explain. Here's what flared, here's what the doctors advised, here's what hurts when I sit on a plane, here's what I'm doing daily. Fans are more forgiving than they get credit for when you respect their intelligence. They're less forgiving when the rollouts feel curated for the good times and absent for the hard ones.
Indiana Fever destroy the Chicago Sky in Indianapolis on Saturday. Guess who wasn't there? Angel Reese. Angel Reese declined to travel to Indianapolis, and her coach came out and said something about, she's just focused on her rehab right now, and, she's day to day. We've never had an explanation on what caused the back injury, what's a time frame for her recovery. It's similar to so-and-so's back injury. This is something she struggled with here or there. All we've heard is day-to-day, and Angel Reese has disappeared.
Then show up. If travel is out, fine. Be visible at home. Be the first person to wrap an arm around a struggling teammate. Be caught on camera breaking down film on a tablet with a reserve. Send the message that you're part of this, even when you can't post an 18-12 line. Those moments don't trend immediately, but they build equity that lasts years. And when you do return with a clear plan. We've seen the 10-game prove-it bursts to justify all-star chatter. We've seen the brand-forward moments. Now show the boring greatness. Run the floor to move a help defender even if you don't touch the ball. Seal early to create a corner three for someone else. Commit to verticality on defense instead of chasing blocks to the highlight reel. The league will notice, and so will the locker room.
Caitlin Clark appears to have a legitimate injury that everybody can trace to a moment and a time during the games where she re-aggravated. She originally injured. She had a comeback where it lasted 2 or 3 games, re-injured it. They've hinted at a time frame of late August that she may return. Nothing but a mystery surrounds Angel Reese.
For the Sky's front office, this moment is a mirror. Are you married to an image, or are you married to winning? If the on-off splits keep saying the ball flows without a branded hub, then build a roster that supports that flow. Lean into pace, spacing, and a defensive identity that doesn't require a star to save possessions. And if Reese does buy into a more connected system, celebrate that version of her relentlessly. Frame her not as a savior, but as a force multiplier. The difference in messaging is everything. And for Indiana, keep doing the boring, professional, lethal stuff that becomes championship DNA. The Fever are quietly building a core that makes sense around Clark's playmaking. Boston is the anchor, Mitchell is the release valve, tough vets who relish their roles, hustle wings who turn 50-50s into runs. When your star returns, the runway will already be paved. That's how dynasties start in this league. Not with one name, but with a system that makes everyone a little better than they were last season.
I mean, I'm proud of this group. I think we've shown all season long, like, they're resilient, they're connected, they pull for each other, they enjoy one another, they celebrate one another, and that stuff alone is good for 10 to 12 points a game. And for this group, the way that they share the ball, how unselfish they are. I mean, I'm really proud of them. It's not been ideal circumstances all season long, but they've shown the character of who they are. They've been resilient. They've responded to adversity, and they continue to elevate one another. And I couldn't be more proud of this group than I am at this moment.
So, did Angel Reese quit? That's the viral question, but maybe it's the wrong one. The right question is simpler. Do her choices, actions, and communication build trust? Right now, that trust is thin. It can be rebuilt. It takes transparency, presence, and a stretch of basketball that puts team success ahead of personal myth-making. If she does that, the narrative flips fast. If she doesn't, the conversation won't be, did she quit? It'll be, did the sky outgrow the version of Reese the marketing machine sold us?
Here's the last thing I'll say about rivalries. They aren't decided by press releases. They're decided by habits. Clark's habit, injured or not, is to show up and connect dots for the people around her. That's why the Fever look more like a program than a highlight reel. Reese's habit, lately, has been disappearing when the calendar gets loud. That's fixable, but the fix starts with owning it, loudly and soon.
I think it just says a lot about who we have as human beings. That was one of the things that we made a priority in the off season of, who we bring into this organization. Number one, quality human beings, selfless human beings, that want to pull for one another, that understand. We have this depth for a reason, and sometimes it creates challenges getting people on the floor. But in situations like this is why you have it. And I'm just, she's right. I mean, as a pro. And as a pro coach, this is one of the most connected groups I've seen. I mean,
if you're still with me, I want to hear from you. If you believe this is a legitimate back issue handled poorly in public, say so. If you think it's a PR maneuver to duck the worst optics of a rough season, say that too. Either way, the next chapter belongs to Angel. The league's watching, her teammates are watching, and yes, so are the fans who buy tickets, jerseys, and hope. Like this breakdown? Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss the next deep dive. I've got fresh film study, real stories from inside locker rooms, and the kind of context that turns box scores into truth. I'll see you there.